Hello. We're going to take a look at Chapter 34, which is the Skeletal, Muscular, and Integumentary Systems from the textbook. To start with, we've got to look at the body organization. One of the things we've got to look at is how's the body put together. So imagine that your body, what your body would look like if it was made up of just one cell, one very large cell. Luckily, our bodies are made up of many types of cells that work together and function. So what are cells? Cells are basic building blocks of every living organism. The human body contains more than 100 trillion cells and more than 100 types of cells. Each cell type performs a specific function in the body. Some cells produce chemicals, like the acid-producing cells in the stomach. Other cells transmit nerve signals. Some cells become surrounded by the mineral calcium to protect the body. Our health depends on each of our cells performing their function. Stem cells. Now, today, stem cells are an important focus of research. Stem cells are different from other cells of the body because they can divide repeatedly and become more than one type of cell. The stem cells used in research, like the one in Figure 1 down in here, are either embryonic or adult cells. The embryonic stem cells are harvested from eggs that were fertilized in the laboratory and donated for research. Adult stem cells used in research are taken from adult tissue. The use of embryonic and adult stem cells has advantages and disadvantages. Embryonic stem cells can become any type of cell, are grown easily in the lab, and millions of cells can be produced from one embryo. Using these cells is controversial because a human embryo is destroyed to obtain them. Research suggests, however, that embryonic stem cells might be collected from an umbilical cord, which would not result in the destruction of an embryo. So adult stem cells may be limited in the types of cells they can become. They are relatively rare in the body and currently cannot be grown to produce large numbers of cells in this lab. This is important because large number of cells are needed for stem cell therapy. The advantage of using adult stem cells is that they can be taken from a patient's own body. As a result, the transplanted cells would not be rejected by the patient's immune system. Here are three types of tissues. We've got muscle tissue, cardiac muscle tissue, skeletal muscle tissue, and smooth muscle tissue, which is found in the intestines. We've got nervous tissue found in the brain, spinal cord, connective tissue, which would be comprised of fat, and then epithelial tissue, which is the skin. So epithelial tissue is tissue that covers the body surface or lines the body cavity. Nervous tissue is tissues of the nervous system, including neurons and their supporting cells. And connective tissue is a tissue that connects and supports other tissues. Muscle tissue will be the tissues made of cells that can contract and relax to produce movement. So tissue types. Tissue is a group of similar cells that work together to perform a common function. The human body contains four types of tissues: epithelial, nervous, connective, and muscle tissue. The four types of tissue, including three types of muscle tissues, are shown on the next slide. So epithelial tissue lines the body surfaces and protects the body from dehydration and damage. An epithelial layer can be one or many cells thick. Epithelial tissue is constantly being replaced as old cells die. So skin and the lining of the respiratory system are examples of epithelial tissue. Nervous tissue is made up of neurons, nerve cells, and their supporting cells. The nervous system is made mostly of nervous tissue. Neurons carry information to all parts of the body. Connective tissue connects, protects, and insulates the body. Connective tissue includes fat, cartilage, bone, tendons, and blood. Some connective tissue cells, such as those in the bone, are densely packed. Others, such as those found in blood, are loosely connected to each other. And then the fourth tissue type is muscle tissue. Muscle tissue is made up of cells that contract and relax to produce movement. There are three types of muscle tissue: skeletal, smooth, and cardiac muscle. Skeletal muscle is attached to bone. Smooth muscle makes up the walls of the intestines and blood vessels. And cardiac muscle is only found in the heart. Organs and organ systems. Organs are structures made up of two or more types of tissue that work together to perform a specific function. Each organ belongs to at least one organ system. So an organ system is a group of organs that work together to carry out the major processes of the body. Tissues that work together form organs. Organs that work together form organ systems. The heart is an organ made of cardiac muscle tissue, connective tissue, and nervous tissue working together to pump blood. The heart, along with blood vessels and blood, make up the circulatory system. Some organs function in more than one system. The ovaries and testes function in both the endocrine and reproductive systems. Major organ systems and their structures are listed in the next slide. You will want to stop the video at this point to copy down the systems, their major structures, and the functions that they perform. Homeostasis. This is a term used to define something that is the steady internal environment that your body maintains despite changes in the external environment. So the body maintains homeostasis by sensing and responding to changes in the internal environment. Homeostasis might be another term for balance. Negative feedback. Almost all body processes use a system called negative feedback to maintain homeostasis or balance, equilibrium. Negative feedback is a system in which the results of a process provide the signal for the process to stop. So one example of this is the regulation of body temperature. So despite temperature changes in the environment, our body maintains a fairly constant internal temperature of about 37 degrees. The body regulates its internal temperature using negative feedback in much the same way that a thermostat works. So when the body senses that its internal temperature has dropped below normal, a chemical signal causes the body to produce heat. The result is shivering, a process you are probably familiar with. When your body temperature returns to normal, the chemical signal is turned off and you stop shivering. If your body temperature rises above normal, another signal is sent. This signal tells the body to begin cooling itself through the evaporation of sweat and by increasing blood flow to small vessels below the skin. This releases heat and cools the body. Temperatures that are too high cause proteins to denature or change shape, and they stop functioning. So temperatures too far below normal range cause cellular processes to stop. The end.